This is the Tarot Counselor. Today I'm going to be doing a reading for Miss V. If you are interested in getting a reading for yourself, look at the link below or check out my Instagram page. Occasionally, like this, I do some free readings if people consent to using the videos on YouTube to help educate other people in tarot and see what an example of a reading might be like. I often, disguise people's names so that it's not obvious who they're talking to. That's why I refer to this individual as Miss V. But Miss V reached out to me with a question about a previous relationship, an ex-boyfriend, and then kind of what's going on with that situation and her love life. We can see here I did a traditional Celtic cross spread where the center card here and on the left side in the middle, kind of covered up by the Ace of Wands, that is the Five of Pentacles. So this is the current situation right now. So the current situation for Miss V is the Five of Pentacles is dealing with a short-term loss, and it can often sometimes Pentacles be associated with health or money. In this case, I think it would be health, and specifically, I'd see a lot more recently mental health. So obviously, going through a betrayal and a loss of a relationship that's going to weigh on you personally, and then weigh on your mental health. And then the card on top of that, which is the Ace of Wands, that would be the card interacting across the current situation. Based on the way that you would ask the question, I believe I'm interpreting the Ace of Wands in this case as the new relationship which your ex found himself in, which was a surprise to you that led to the betrayal that you have been feeling of recently. So obviously that is the cause. So because it seems to your case out of the blue, there was this betrayal by your ex-boyfriend, and then that is what's causing for you a short-term loss in some mental health. So the next cards we would look at is the ones above and below this. So above this would be the outward reflection of the situation. So this is the conscious energy. So this should be the one that would be obvious. So if people see you or talk to you or react to you, they know that this is the energy you're giving off. So this is the King of Pentacles. So in this situation, I think because the King of Pentacles relates back to your mental health, at this moment right now, the energy you're giving out is almost like, you're okay with this. You've got everything, you're projecting outwardly that you've got everything under control. You're recovering from this, and you're kind of projecting the king, like I've got everything under control. It's all within my power as the king. But if you look below that, so on the bottom of this is the Eight of Swords. You see the woman blindfolded, surrounded by swords. This Eight of Swords is kind of the damned if you do, damned if you don't card, and based on its position is kind of the unconscious or subconscious response that's going on right now. So outwardly, you may be currently projecting like, I've got everything under control, I'm moving on, I've got it. Whereas underneath in the subconscious, this is kind of a struggle between the right thing to do for you long term, but the short term pain to do so is kind of holding you back or causing you to be frozen where you are and preventing you from moving forward. So in this case, I think obviously, now a previous relationship where there was some betrayal, I think lots of people be giving you advice that you should not communicate with this individual anymore and just move on. But with the being bound up in the Eight of Swords is saying is there's some attachment or pain that you would feel in doing that you are kind of currently hesitating, you're feeling stuck or trapped from moving on. What I see a lot of situations dealing with relationship, it's not just the loss of the relationship. I think there's also people can see the loss of the attachment to the relationship of having a significant other in your life, or the status that may come with that specific individual. If it is someone of status, whether it's a popular or sporty person or something like that, there's something associated that because I think it's most people would say it's you should be able to give up a relationship that ended really badly and ended up with lots of betrayal, but what we often don't admit to ourselves is there is a loss, even as bad as the ending or the relationship may have been, or the pain that we're feeling. Admitting to ourselves that we're willing to part with the attachment that we felt, or even the status of being in a relationship or having a relationship, or that specific person giving us attention, we actually struggle with that loss. So this would kind of suggest, especially since swords relate with communication, and part of your question was, would there be any kind of communication, or there hasn't been any to date. This would be the struggle for that is, I view, since swords are related to communication, if you kind of stay stuck where you are, then that would be almost like reopening communication with this ex individual, whereas the moving forward would be maybe not communicating, or you not initiating communication with that individual, and just kind of moving on. You can see in the back there's a mountain and a little castle, which would be kind of moving towards your goal. So once you figure out what your new goal is, what you're leaving and going to, this would be that kind of goal that you're heading towards. The next card we look at is on the far left. That is the Page of Wands. So this will be the recent influence, so the previous energy that's been coming into the situation, and then across from that would be like the upcoming energy, or things that would be affecting us in the near future. So the Page of Wands, to me, this suggests, obviously, there's lots of connections between the suits as you get to them. This obviously connects back to the Ace of Wands as we had before. So the way I see this as, from your perspective, obviously, whoever's in a relationship and you realize there's some betrayal, it can be very shocking and surprising to you that this is almost coming out of the blue, and that's kind of what this Ace of Wands is suggesting, is all of a sudden there is this additional relationship for your ex that led to the betrayal, and to you is like out of the blue, shocking surprise, obviously, when you found out about it. What the Page of Wands is suggesting is that the environment for this to occur had actually been going on for some amount of time prior to this. Examples I could give would be a situation where, maybe you and this boyfriend met in a specific class, a specific semester, or something like that, and then something changed. Obviously, the next semester, maybe you're not in class anymore, and maybe that, your ex or your boyfriend at the time started being in a different class with other people, or seasons to sports, a different season of sports starts, so you started hanging out with different groups of people. So there was something that kind of almost kept you two a little bit apart, and him interacting with other individuals, that made this betrayal possible. Because that's what kind of the Page of Wands suggests, is that there was a fertile environment for this to occur. So from your perspective, it may have been poof out of it, but something obviously has been lingering around for some amount of time in order for such a situation like this to have occurred. The next card on the other side, so this is the Devil, but this isn't, a lot of people get concerned or scared when they see cards they would perceive as scary, and this was not a super scary card, but obviously a generous, wonderful warning for us. So really what the Devil means is, in this situation, in tarot in general, is all about, I know people use all the time for tarot to be, what's going on with this relationship or this problem or this situation imminently right now, because obviously whatever struggles you're going through right now is the most top of mind thing. But tarot is really about a path of self-reflection in your own journey, with the intent to connect you to your higher purpose, or what you were meant to do in this world. And meanwhile, the Devil is kind of the warning of, obviously, a barrier or blockage for us to get to this mission, whatever we're meant to do on this life or this journey. The Devil is what kind of would trap us into being stuck in the earthly, superficial things, like, quest for power, money, superficial things, attention, whatever the case may be. Those are things that are obviously lure us or interesting, but they kind of can be a barrier from our greater life mission, our greater purpose, which is often associated with giving to other people or being of a greater good to the world and society. So I would say with this, for you specifically in this situation, this is almost whatever attachment that you had, or whatever, I would say power in this case you felt this individual had over you, is going to be, you're going to be coming into your life, you're going to be feeling that energy, and I think it's also, obviously associated with the loss of this situation. So this isn't, I don't necessarily see whether, this doesn't necessarily say whether he would open up communication or you would. I think this would be whatever the reasons you were in the relationship or whatever the association or power this individual had over you, how you felt with them. Those feelings and that energy is going to be coming to you and almost as a barrier or something that's kind of pulling you back into that situation, even if it's not the best thing for you, specifically for your mental health, because that's kind of the center of the situation. Because obviously, having to relive the trauma or going through the pain or the conflict that can obviously occur from opening this door, whether it's outward communication with him or just inward communication with yourself struggling about this situation, because that's obviously what you've asked about. um, that alone can bring up these emotions or triggers or powers. And I guess this would be one of the key takeaways, which I can kind of revisit at the end. But for you, it would be to evaluate the situation beyond where it is today and really get to that kind of core information of like, why why did you value that relationship? What did it bring you? And because I think obviously just superficially everyone would say, oh, any relationship where it ended and there was a betrayal, you obviously should move on, because that's not someone who would love and support you in the way anyone deserves to be loved and supported. But this would say is there is something that's pulling you back or leading you back to those feelings and those emotions that you would have to look at. So you need to break free from those chains. Can you see the people who are bound below that by choices? What is the root energy or feeling or association that you have that you almost need to reevaluate with yourself? And so whether that's limiting beliefs about relationships or general self-esteem, self-worth, why the empowerment of you deserve more, you deserve your best. I always say if you raise your standards, the universe, and outwardly express that, the universe will respond to that. Not that anyone should purposely reject or break up with anyone, but I think if you're in a relationship that isn't going well and you vocalize and saying, I deserve better than this, therefore I'm leaving you, the universe hears that and it will not bring that energy back to you next time. It will raise the standard of the people that will come to you. But obviously, if you end up in a bad relationship with people who don't treat you well and you don't kind of put your foot down and kind of push that away, saying, I don't deserve it, unfortunately, I think the next relationship, whether it's the same person or someone else, that same type of energy you're inviting back in. Um, so that's where I would say you need to really kind of look at what you even write down on paper, what you feel you deserve and what you'd want your relationship to be, and really hold yourself to those core values of what you really want to have in a relationship. And when anytime you are feeling the energy of the devil for other reasons, like, well, this person doesn't treat you as well as you want, or it doesn't have these values or attributes that you will have, but it feels good because you're getting attention, or feel good because obviously you're having some enjoyment with somebody. As soon as you violate your core principles, then obviously you're kind of sacrificing your happiness for that. And if you allow that relationship to go negative and you don't kind of stick to your core principles, even if you break up and move on to someone else, if you don't resolve that core issue, your next relationship may look very similar to that. That's why you kind of see people getting stuck in patterns like, why am I always picking this kind of person, or why am I always relationships kind of end in this kind of same tragic way. It's because I personally always say there is no such thing as a bad relationship as long as you learn from it. So the only bad relationships are the ones which you did not take a lesson from and did not change the way you approach your next relationship. Because in that situation, you can kind of constantly always be repeating the same relationship over and over again with different people. Whereas if you're very intentional about what you want in a relationship and whether that relationship is meeting you, I also always say there's lots of amazing people out there, but there aren't that many amazing relationships, because there are lots of great people, but that doesn't mean that they're the right fit for you, or you two have the right common interest or the right common mission in life, how you want to do. So it's much more difficult to find a great relationship, and then there are lots of wonderful people out there that you can spend your time with. I kind of belabored that point on that card, so we'll kind of keep going. But I think this is obviously, if you're not familiar with tarot, in this reading, the Devil is the only major arcana card. So it kind of ends up saying that this is the higher level. Obviously, most cards and most things deal with day-to-day life situations, so the minor arcana cards deal with obviously what's going on in life. But the major arcana are the ones where, almost think of it as your guardian angels, your spirit guides are kind of stepping in to try to keep you on track with whatever you're meant to do for your missions, because obviously everyone's going to go through struggles in life. There's nothing you could do that would to avoid that. So we're always going to have conflict and stuff like that coming up in our life. But these are almost the kind of guardian angels to make sure we stay on track. So even though it may look scary, the devil is here to kind of protect us and warn us by saying, you need to look at what you love and what you really deserve versus attachments to things that make you feel good or things that may be superficial as you approach relationships in the future, because this is upcoming. You haven't dealt with this energy yet, so I'd really take the time and really work on that. The next one is on the bottom right. So this is the Seven of Wands. And so obviously being Wands is going to be connected back to the situation dealing with the Ace of Wands and the Page of Wands. So this is dealing with almost specifically the betrayal. But by this position here, being at the bottom of the right half of the staff, this is you right now. This card represents you. So this would be obviously almost feeling defensive, feeling like you're being attacked. So what I would think this one would be is, even though it was your ex's betrayal and you did nothing wrong in this situation and he is at fault, this would suggest that possibly there are people around you in your life that are teasing you or bullying you or mocking you about this situation, and you're feeling kind of attacked. It's like, hey, I almost as if, I did nothing wrong, so why are you bringing this negativity towards me, or why are you attacking me in this way? Because I'm the victim in this situation. So that's kind of one that I would look at, that stay strong, but obviously you can see the individual is trying to defend themselves from many attackers. So almost suggests that there are people making things difficult for you because of the situation, even though it's no fault of your own. The next card above that, this is the Eight of Cups, and this is the position relates to the environment. Could be the physical environment, the friends and family environment, but the one below that is you and your energy right now, but this is the environment that's around you. What this would suggest is, by the Eight of Cups being, I follow lots of numerology, 8 is pretty far along your journey, so the Eight of Cups says you do have a good group of friends or family who are supporting you emotionally going through this breakup and betrayal that can help you out. But you can see the individual in this is almost walking away from that. I've seen other ways, other reflections of this, maybe like the Three of Cups, where it's almost people are, obviously when you're down, you need your friends to pick you up, and they're almost embracing the energy coming from them. It would say you have the support available to you from good friends and family if you need it, but it almost seems like you are not choosing to leave that behind, but you're looking for something else. You're looking for more, and the fact that this individual is heading away towards the moon, this kind of signals that this situation almost has not really rocked you to your core, but has really caused you not just to evaluate this situation, but almost like go on this kind of spiritual journey to say, like, what do I want? What do I really value? Because it almost suggests a longing, or a journey of self-discovery in another way. You're longing for something else, and it generally means you want to go on like a more emotional or spiritual journey. So this isn't just, I would like to fix this relationship and move on and have a perfect relationship. It's almost really put you in a different direction to kind of say, well, almost like, I've been through similar situations where it's like almost like, well, what do I want out of life right now? What am I doing? How can I change things? So obviously, that where I am today isn't exactly where I wanted to be. So not just dealing with this relationship, what other aspects of my life do I need to change? Whether that's adopting meditation, yoga, other spiritual practices to tap into that. But this does suggest that you have a longing or looking for something else beyond just dealing with this situation at hand. The next card above that, so this is the Knight of Pentacles, and the position is kind of your hopes, dreams, or fears that are on your way to the outcome of this situation. So this would be, either new messages or a step, kind of a step up in your mental health. So coming from relating obviously back to the other pentacles. So even though you are portraying yourself as the King of Pentacles, you've got everything under control. That's not necessarily true based on the subconscious of the Eight of Swords. So this would suggest that there is in a step up or an improvement or messages, there is access to kind of gain some of your mental health back, either through new messages or new things coming to you, things that you are open to allowing to come into your life, will can bring you. So whether that's part of your search on the journey below, whether it is you do choose to pick up a spiritual practice, tap into other energies, whatever the case may be, that's going to bring you additional energy that can kind of help heal yourself. I think the trap is some people say, oh, I had one bad relationship, the solution to that is to jump in another relationship and just hope that's better. Or I think in reality the better situation would be is to work on yourself and to take some me time, some self-care time, and whatever, however that means for you, whether it is yoga, meditation, whatever the case may be for you, a new hobby or whatever that is going to heal you more than a new better relationship would as of right now. Because I think once you kind of heal yourself, your energy is going to kind of leave or express out of you, and that's just going to attract the right people to you at the right time. I think people can, if you read energies really well, you can kind of tell when you meet some people who are still hurt from a previous relationship and who have healed themselves, and that they just kind of radiate another energy that kind of attracts or lures people to them, because they kind of have that self-care about them. The last card at the top here, this is the kind of the outcome of this situation. So this is the Page of Swords. What this says, and obviously one part of your question is you haven't had any communication, in the past month or so. So will there be any communication? And this obviously relates back to the other swords, which would be the Eight of Swords, your subconscious. Right now you don't know what to do. Swords obviously related with communication, because you kind of feel like the damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's why you feel trapped. The Page of Swords would be, as you go on the rest of this journey, there will be in the future a fertile environment for communication back to this individual, if that is what you choose. However, you can see with the Page of Swords, they're kind of like heading forward while kind of leaning back. So it's not an assertive forward motion charging in, this is the right thing to do. That this is a hemming and hawing, like the environment may be right, but I'm kind of moving on, but I'm kind of looking backwards. You can kind of see they're leaning forward, moving on with their life, but kind of looking backwards. That's kind of what this would say, is like the whatever the situation may be in the future, there's going to be an opportunity that you could or they could have more communication with this individual. I think the question would be for you is, do you really want that? Because I think, as you can see, since the wood in the forward, like this related with swords. Swords obviously can also be related to not just communication but conflict. It's going to bring up the double-edged side of the sword. So obviously, a lot of the pain. So I don't know if that's going to be the right thing for you, but I think that's why, if you choose to have that communication, the most important thing for you to do is go back and relate to that Devil card and kind of get on your core principles of what you'd want in a relationship, and maybe even document where this individual met some of those attributes but failed on others. And that way, is if there was some communication with this individual, you can kind of always reference to those or come back to those and say, or hear them. So obviously, if you do kind of open up communication, but it opened up some wounds, or they start blaming you for the situation. It was because of things that you did or didn't do. That's why this situation happened. Or I thought, you didn't love me in this way, and that's why I needed this other individual, or something like that. You can stick to your core and not get sucked back into that kind of conflict or the pull or the blaming that would kind of suck you back in and say, well, no, I'm innocent of this situation. I don't deserve this, and I'm going to move on. So even if you chose to have that communication, you'd have the strength from the core that you built to not get sucked back in, where it would cause you more pain and loss mentally. And if you're especially in a better stage of your own mental health, you can be a lot stronger and say, okay, I've reached out, or we had communication, I got some closure if that's what you feel you need, but I can let it go because, um, you know, I can kind of feel the negativity that obviously the betrayal caused from me, and I can let it go while still getting my closure, kind of half in, half out, right? You get out of what you need from the closure, but you're not getting sucked back into the situation that'll cause you even more pain. I think that's one thing you want to avoid is not feeling more pain from that. But obviously, I think the biggest warning of this whole thing is to, make sure that the devil card, you make sure you understand what you really want so you don't get sucked in or lured in by, something charming or a false sense of security. I think hopefully that kind of wraps up, and we can work offline if you have any specific follow-up questions or needs for clarification. But I think the biggest things are, this is obviously not a great situation for you. You are kind of feeling bound or stuck right now, even though at times you may be portraying yourself as, things, having things under control or doing well out of it. I think there is going to be a test in your near future of some energy that can lure you back into the situation. But the good news is, I do think the Eight of Cups is suggesting that, besides just this relation, this has opened up, a door has opened up for you where you could be seeking something else more spiritual in your life. Whatever that may be, a new hobby, new activity, something that'll fill you up emotionally besides just a relationship, whether that's, even spending your time giving to charity, whatever the case may be. You need to go and find whatever fills you up emotionally uh, on your own versus having to seek that out or find that out in a relationship. But as far as the outcome you're looking for with this individual, there is going to be a time in the future where the environment will be conducive to opening communication. And I think you just have to choose. Tarot doesn't predict the future, it just kind of gives you all the forces that are acting on the situation. So that door will be there for you. And obviously, we all have free will, so it's your choice to whether that would benefit you to gain closure, or if it would just bring you back into too much pain. And hopefully, the work you've done on yourself and your self care will have moved you into a place where you can move on peacefully and confidently on your own. All right, everyone, if you helped out or you appreciated that, please like, subscribe, or send it to any of your friends. And again, check out below for any of the links to interact with anything else if you want to reach out for a possible reading for yourself, or any other products that I offer. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.